So there's a thing with quality TV. There's so much pontification and random philosophical bullshit about what quality TV is and isn't, and how
It's mostly about what it isn't.
Yeah.
Which
True. Like in terms of sort of the clinical, let's say, definition, yeah, it isn't reality TV. It isn't shoddily produced things with low production values.
to be honest, whenever any concept, product, or anything talks about what it isn't, that's a red flag.
It is a red flag, and for very good reason, because forget all the nonsense about production value and having a quality written script and all these complex
Aiming for a
narrative
quality
stories.
audience.
Yeah, aiming for a quality audience. That's 99% of the time code for rich white people,
Yes,
and it shows.
it really does.
It shows because these shows just coming out year after year. They're winning these awards and these recognitions, and all the writers who are commentating are fawning over them and prostrating at their feet. And it's the same damn show.
Yeah, and people might say like, "Oh, why are you dissing on these shows? Do you think that TV shouldn't be on awards?" Like, no, that's not what people are saying. It's that people are just taking the same thing over and over and just putting them in different fonts.
Yeah, like all the award-winning, massive, well-known blockbuster formats are just for TV shows, not even movies, are just so repetitive at this point. Always involving some coming-of-age story, some vaguely philosophical diatribe about existentialism or life.
And it's always a protagonist that people tend to self-insert themselves with
Yep.
for bad reasons. Like sometimes that can be a good approach, but usually these people don't do it well.
Yep. And the only way they get away with a quality TV label is, to their credit, sometimes they have consistent production values, consistent effects, consistent maintaining a consistent level of quality. Yes, but if all the wrapping is beautiful and the inside is shite, it's shite.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Stranger Things doesn't really fall under that. It is a refreshingly compelling story in terms of mostly everything.
True.
It's very local. It's very direct. It meets all the hallmarks of quality TV on the surface, but I personally wouldn't count it as quality TV in a stereotypical sense.
Yeah.
It strays away from that.
It is a quality television show, but it's not the label quality TV.
Yeah, because even though it's quite serious sometimes and unashamedly persistent and consistent in its identity and direction, some of the other hallmarks of quality TV shows, like complex narrative structures and which is usually code for shitty plot twists and things like that, it doesn't meet any of them. It's quite consistent in its narrative structure.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't subvert tropes or subvert expectations for no reason, which is important because the way at least I've been taught to write growing up is subvert everything. But when you're subverting everything, you're subverting nothing. And nothing you say has any meaning, and nothing you write has any consistency or taste whatsoever. It's just flavorless nonsense.
Though I will say, as someone who kept up with Stranger Things since season 1, I do feel like season 4 kind of fell off with the kind of quality. But it's not as bad as most other quote-unquote quality TV. It's just, I feel like now that Stranger Things blew up, season 4 was like, oh, we have a mass audience now. Now we have to write for a mass audience. But I feel when you start to fall into that trap, it becomes dangerous.
Yes.
And I hope that they don't do that with season 5.
And gatekeeping audience is one thing, but trying to appeal to every single person ever is also probably a failing effort. Unless you're talking about a very specific kind of
people have a tendency for extremes.
Yeah. You know what did fall off? Jane.
Yeah.
Actually, it was never standing upright to begin with.
It never got the chance. I don't think people gave it the chance. Rightfully so, because what the fuck was that show?
I mean, I'm gonna skip anything about the shoddy quality of the show and the terrible narrative and all the question marks about why it was produced by two Americans, and go straight to one thing: the reason it never had any chance, and it never will be iterated upon, at least in this current situation and this current cultural context that we reside within. It was demonized based on nothing. people didn't hate it, at least in Jordan and its intended markets, because it was badly written or anything along those lines. They complained because teenagers were drinking, making out, and because this is an offense actually to all humanity ever, and it is considered an infringement on public morality, as some would say. That was the entire reason, nothing else.
Yeah, the moment you start hinging fiction and morality and equating them to each other, that's when it gets dangerous.
Yeah, that's the only reason it actually failed. Terrible narrative, horrible writing and effects. Arabic satellite TV is filled to the brim with those. We love it.
Yeah. Also, it, I feel like the production studio just took a look at the tropes of Stranger Things instead of really thinking about what actually made it successful.
Yeah, biggest case. Biggest example. It's not local. Yeah, it's filmed in Petra, a very important cultural landmark in Jordan, very important historical landmark, tourist landmark, everything. Very important location in the south of Jordan. But somehow it doesn't really lean into any of the Jordanian cultural elements or anything.
Yeah, because the thing about Stranger Things, like, I only know like a few things because I watched like behind the scenes stuff, but you can, when you listen to the Duffer Brothers and listen to them talk about Stranger Things, like, this is a story like they came up with themselves, like they lived this story, and that's why it feels like, so compelling.
Yes, Jin feels contrived on the other hand.
Like, this is why we listen to stories, because it feels something that we can connect to, even if we're completely removed from this cultural context. Like, yes, the US American culture is everywhere, but we never get that, like small town, rural US America.
Yeah, it's
It is so specific.
it is, and that's where Jin completely fails, because Jin is neither specific nor even general in any meaningful way. It kind of just is, and it is very badly.
Yes.
Like, the biggest example is, okay, let's assume that it was allowed to air and like continue. Well, it was allowed to air. It's on Netflix, but let's say it was like not shunned and demonized, and we got sort of the youth reactions to it.
It got 4 seasons like Stranger Things.
Oh, God forbid. If we got the youth reactions to that, it still would be horribly received. And it was horribly received. Because the dialogue sounds nothing like Jordanian teenagers speaking.
Even if I don't speak Arabic, it just sounds like, they put the script through Google Translate or like a text-to-speech program and made the actors replicate that speech.
You would know. You've heard the Palestinian/Jordanian Arabic, and it's very...
It has personality.
Yes, it's very quirky.
People tend to have personality. Jin doesn't have personality.
It's not like the other Arabics. but you listen to the characters speaking, and it's like, where? First of all, there's too little curse words. Second of all, where's the intonation? Where's the spice? Where's the shoutiness? Where's the speaking over each other? And third, the vocabulary is wrong. They substitute, and I suspect for reasons of legibility they did that. They substitute a lot of like stereotypical Jordanian nouns that I would expect when I was listening to some of the dialogue with modern standard Arabic. And while that is a practice, I personally do it. It's not very common.
Yeah, and it doesn't work in the context of Jordanian teenagers in Jordan speaking to each other.
Especially the kind we're shown, like the kind to go out running in the desert drinking.
Yeah.
Not exactly like the kind of character you would imagine using modern standard Arabic regularly, which is most people don't.